Hi everyone. Thank you for clicking on this video today. We're going to be walking through one of our newest templates. This is one that's really good for people that kind of live in this modern day where you have a couple side hustles, a couple small businesses, and you need one place to track them. And you only want to deal with one spreadsheet to track all of your different businesses, all your different side hustles. This is the type of template that'll do that. The way I'm kind of calling it a multi business tracker. And so we're going to walk through it. It's like an income statement, but it's built for multiple businesses. It's a default to 5, but you can add more as you go. And we're just going to kind of walk through it. We'll walk through a version here in a minute that has a bunch of values already in it, so you can see what it looks like with values in it. Then we'll walk through a transaction, what it looks like. We'll look through how to use some of the different features, because the one that we're looking at, it's going to have lots of features. And then at the end, I'll talk about how there's a couple different types that you could purchase, and they step down in price depending on which features you add or subtract. So we'll go ahead and go to it. We'll move to the next screen, and let me actually scroll up. So this is kind of the main page. This is the main income statement, I guess, so to speak. And let me just zoom it a little bit. And so what you see here is an income statement, and that's the primary thing this is for. This is for tracking income, profit and loss, income and expenses, and to do it in multiple businesses. So you can see at the top here, this income statement, shows all the businesses and then breaks down each business individually. The first part here shows for the regular month end. And then as you scroll to the right, you see here we go to a year to date. And then as we go further over, it just takes all of the information, consolidates it, puts it into a current year, a prior year. That's for a month end and for a year to date. This is the month end. That is the year to date. And then it also shows us a monthly one. And what's neat about the monthly one, as we're here, is if you click the drop down, you can actually, let me zoom out so you can see it a little better. You can see here, you actually have choices on which business. So if I flip the business over, it changes which one you see, and now you can see the business on a monthly basis. So you can do all the businesses that you have, or any individual business as you go. And so that's the first page I want to show you. We'll also go backwards here. There's a summary page that kind of shows you all of that same information in a quick summary form. Some really nice charts and graphs that I personally find useful. One that I really find useful is this last 12-month breakdown, because I've actually found that the last 12 months is an easier way to look at my business than looking at an individual year to date with months that I've not seen yet. Moving past there's the income statement again. If we go to here, this is a register. This is kind of one of the key items in the entire thing, because this is where you input all your information. So if you think you have a checking account or a credit card or both or several of them, you enter your transactions here, kind of like you do for a check register. You say what the date is. If it's a deposit or a check, deposit means income, check means expense. You put your check number if you have it. Cleared has it cleared your bank statement yet or not? Who's the customer or the payer? And by the way, as you add people, you can see they're actually on here. What checking account it is. And again, you have a drop down to help you select what checking account or credit card it works for. A drop down to select a business. And then finally, what account does it go? It says category. That's the same sort of like account. And then what's the amount? And so you enter all the information in here, just like any type of check register. And this will populate in all of these other tabs. And so this is kind of like the core part of the report. Some of the other tabs, these are add-ons. And so, the income statement and the register is kind of the main juice, but then there's some add-ons to help you in different ways. So the first one is this customer and payer tracker. And what it does is it shows all the people that you have either received money from, receipts, or people that you have paid, disbursements. And it calculates based off the current year on the income statement, how much you've paid each person, how much you paid them year to date, how much you paid in the prior year. And then the final one is the bank rec. And this is a pretty neat feature we'll go through later on. But it's literally what it is. You put your bank statement balance in. You mark cleared in the register for the checks or deposits that have cleared. this thing automatically, based on the date of the bank reconciliation, automatically shows you what outstanding checks or deposits in transit you have, and helps you to reconcile that balance. This is pre-set up for you to have 3 different accounts, or 3 different checking accounts. And also you can see here you actually have 3 different registers that you can use. And so that's the summary. And so what we're going to do is we're going to just do a couple real quick walkthroughs. We're going to enter a transaction on a clean sheet, because you can see there's a lot of data in here. We're going to go to one that's just completely blank. We're going to enter the data for one transaction, walk you through what it looks like in all the different areas, kind of answer, how do I add more properties? How do I add more expenses? How do I delete expenses? We're going to walk through those really quickly, just kind of with one quick transaction. So let me go to a clean sheet here, and you can see this is a clean sheet. Right now it's set for a month end of March 31, 2022. So we'll enter some transactions as if it's March 31, 2022, and walk this through that process. So going to the register and going to the top. Let me get to the top there. All right. So we're going to enter transaction. I'm just going to enter this in for 3/28/2022. I'm going to do this as a deposit, and I'm going to put a check in, just call it 1,000. I'm going to say that it's not cleared. We'll talk about what that means in a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and enter here, because now, actually, because this is a cleaned one, I actually have, see this kind of weird error? I have no vendors now. I have no customers. I have no vendors. I have no one that I've paid so far. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter someone. I'm just going to say customer 1. Now what's neat is I'm going to show you now what's neat is I've typed them in here, and then if I go down here, they're now actually available as a drop down. And actually, now that I've entered them on this sheet, I'll go over here. They're also now available on here. So really, when you're entering a customer or a vendor in this register, you only have to enter them once, and then they'll show up available on the drop down, and they'll also immediately show available over here on this customer payer tracker, which is pretty neat. Bank account, we'll just set this for checking account 1. I'm going to say that this is for just business 2. I'm kind of putting that one just specifically so we can see it. And we're going to say that this is service income. And we're going to say that we have $1,050. Now, if I've entered this correctly, and I think I have, I go over here now, and you can see actually now in the income, it's totaled there. It's also totaled in the year to date, and it's over there as well. Now you see I have no history right now in the 2021 because I just have one transaction. If I go to the monthly one, you can see it shows up over here. And just to show you that it kind of works correctly, I'm going to put a transaction that's actually outside of the date. I'm going to put a 4/30/2022. Remember, our income statement right now is dated for March. Let's call this one. We'll do another deposit. Or I'm sorry. Let's just do a check. We'll do a check, and we'll do it for check 1001. I'm going to call this pay vendor 1, and I'll select them for the second checking account because we'll use this in a minute. And I'm going to select this for business 3, and I'm going to say now, and notice one thing I should note here, notice that now that we've selected check over here, right, now actually these categories change. Before, these were income categories. Now these are expense categories. And just to show you, if I select deposit again over here, I'll show that drop down. Those are income accounts. If I go over here, select check, they're expense one. Just show you that this thing reads what you put in column B, and that determines what's shown in column H. And then let's go ahead and just put $150 in here. Now remember, I put this in for 4/30, so this should not show up in this right now. Let me show you. See how it does not show up because we are not in 4/30. If I would put 4/30/2022 in here, notice that now in the month end this shows up. That 3/31 goes away here because it's not in that month, but it does show up here in the year to date, and it shows up in there. So it just shows you how much it automatically calculates. You can also see over here, let me fix that formatting while I'm here. You can also see here that it totals on the year to date. And you can also see here the expenses in the month. Now, just to show you that it automatically populates on some of the other sheets, you can see here in the all business that we have the income here in business 2. We have that expense in business 3, so we know it's running through our last 12 months as well as our current year correctly. And you can see it's starting to fill in those charts automatically. The last thing you can see here, we have our customer payer tracker. And if we would set this checking account to 4/30/2022, notice that this becomes an outstanding deposit. And if I go over here to here and put 4/30/2022, this is an outstanding check. And so that's showing kind of those things. So you can see how, like I said, just start entering transactions into the register and it goes. Now, the last thing I want to show you here is when you're doing your bank reconciliation, and let's say you have an account that has, or a transaction that's cleared, what you can do, and let me just go back here to the bank rec first, see how right now it's showing this deposit here. We're going to mark this cleared, and this will actually go away. So if I set this to cleared, if I click yes, and go back to the bank rec, see how it's kind of doing an error calc now? That means there's nothing outstanding. That is actually not an error. What that actually means is that there's nothing outstanding. So it has nothing to, it's essentially saying, there's nothing really to look at here. Now, if I clear this off and just delete this, it shows back up. So as you're reconciling your bank account and you're going through all your various things, all you have to do is as things clear on your checking account, you just go here, mark cleared, and it goes off this business bank rec. And then, like I said, once you've cleared them and you have just all your outstanding checks for the month, enter what your bank statement is, and this thing should automatically calculate everything off of there. So that's how it works. And granted, I call this deposits and checks, which is kind of a very paper term. But if you're having ACHs or electronic withdrawals, just use those the same as deposits and checks. It works the same way either way. I just use the deposit and check terminology for this purpose. So that's kind of the basics of how this thing runs. What we're going to do now is I'm just going to show you how to change some of the real basic things in here. So we're going to talk about just how you change an account number. We're also going to talk about how you change an account name, and we're going to talk about how you change a business name, because obviously you probably don't want to keep your businesses as business 1, business 2, business 3, and then talk through kind of how to add businesses if you need more, or add other accounts. So the first thing we're going to do is just talk about how you change an income or expense account. It's the same way. You just go in here and change it. So if you want this to say, let's just say we're going to call this transaction fees, because for some reason we have transaction fees. And you can see that here, if we go over to the register, enter deposit, and I'll just show you here now. You see here now transaction fees has replaced the other income too. And just to show you also, it's changed over here. And as we go across, it's changed there, and it's changed there. So across the board, anywhere where you adjust it, as long as you adjust it in column E here for income or expenses, it will change across the board. Just a nice little easy function that's built into it, that it reads off of this column E. It changes over there, and it'll also adjust over over here as well in the drop downs. So that's how you just change one. You change the name. The same way with a business. If you need to change a business, you go to this month end, the very first income statement that you come to. And let's just say we're going to change business 1. We're going to change it to my business name, Simple Excel Solutions. And let me just expand that. If you don't know how to expand, just either grab up here and double click, or drag it to the size. And then you'll see over here, it's actually changed right here. And if we go to that register, I clicked on the wrong spot again. If I click on that register, it's changed there to Simple Excel Solutions. And if I go over here, the one thing you do have to do manually is you do on this current year summary, have to go up and change the name. That's the only thing that doesn't really automate. Is you do have to go up here. See how there's a drop down to let you choose what your business is? You just hit the drop down there and select Simple Excel Solutions, and it'll update that. Now, one thing that is really important as you enter transactions for account names or account types, one thing that's really important is once you start entering deposits or expenses, You don't want to change any of those names for anything that you've already used. So in other words, if you have put transaction expenses in and you've named them material purchase, once you start entering those transactions, you have to keep this as material purchased. And likewise, once you have an income, you have some merchandise income, you need to keep the name. This entire template works off a function called SUMIFs. And if you change the name after you've put transactions in that are using those names, it won't total them anymore. And the same for the businesses. You want to enter those transactions beforehand. And just to show you, just in an example, see how business 3 has an expense. If I change this to, example 1, see how the totals go away? It's because I changed the name of it. So let me undo that. And I'll go ahead and undo a little bit of these other things and get this back to being just business 1. So, but anyways, that's how you change it. You just type those in there. Now, really, if you need to delete them, and I don't really want to walk through deleting one, all you do is you right-click delete across the board, delete which one you have, and that's all you have to do. So you just go here, right-click, and hit delete. Now, if you need to add accounts, and we'll do one right here, it's still really simple, but let me just walk the process real quick. So you want to just kind of click anywhere in between in the accounts, from like here to here. You just want to right click somewhere and you want to hit insert, and that's going to insert a row. It's going to insert a row across the board. All right. Now, once you insert that, you still need to put the name in. So let's just say we're going to call this example 1. All right. And now the next thing you need to do is you need to go here and see these places where you have these formulas. You want to go all the way across all of your income statements. And I'm sorry that I'm kind of pulling this fast. But you want to go all the way across here to the end of the monthly income statement where you have all of those rows. And what you actually want to do is just you want to hit right click, you want to hit copy, or a shortcut would be Control C. And then you want to come down here and you want to hit Control V. And what that does is that brings down and copies all of these formulas. And that does it. Another way, if you don't like the copy and paste route, if you highlighted all of these and you got to the very end here at the end of that monthly income statement we're at, there's a little green box, and you can see that my cursor becomes like a little tiny black plus sign. If you drag that down, that will also bring down those formulas. But it is really important for you to bring the formulas over while you're doing it. And so now we have added that account, that example 1. And just to show you what's happened, if I go here, change this to check, and I go over to category, you're going to now see that example 1 is available as an expense. And so, this is just to show you, and I'm going to go ahead and delete it. So you go right click and you hit delete, and it's gone back to where it was. And that's really it. That's how this works. It's a simple example of how to make a multi-business income statement, but it is really powerful for the abilities it does it. Excel has some really wonderful, really wonderful functions that allow us to do something with this much analytics in it. One more thing that I am going to show you, just in case it's something you need. As I showed before, if you need to change what month end you're looking at and change the year-to-date information that you're looking at, you just have to go up here and type in the end month date, 5/31/2022. And you can see now actually it wipes this out, and you see in the register I have no May information. And then when you want to change the fiscal year end, when you want to move to your next year, you just go 12/31/2023. And what you'll actually see is those 2022 transactions go away in the process, and you can see that now we have a whole different thing. And then you would obviously want to make this like 5/31. Oops, I hit the wrong button. 5/31/2023. There, and that should actually see those 2022 transactions now are in the prior year. So this thing automatically updates the naming, automates all the totaling as you go, which is that's really nice. So it's not like you have to make a new copy at the end of the year. It's not like you have to make a copy of this, make a new one, and then go from there. You can just keep using the same one. It keeps all the history. And that's real nice. And luckily, Excel has built such a good program that it can, golly, it can keep just tons and tons and tons of information. So it is real beneficial. Now, one thing I do want to note, you can actually see in the colors, these are various things, kind of the stuff that I just walked you through. It's just kind of walking that information. There's lots of little places with notes and instructions to help you remember kind of what you're working on throughout there. So, it's even once you have this video, and actually once I'm done with this video will be a link at the top here for instructions to how to do it as well. So there's really as many resources to help you fix this as I can. This is available both as a Google Sheet and as an Excel. They're listed separately in Etsy because it helps me kind of list them better, because some people look for Excel, some people look at Google Sheets. One of the really important things is, if you need an Excel, make sure to buy the Excel listing, and I'll put the different links in. If you're looking for a Google Sheet, make sure to buy the Google Sheet listing, because they do work a little bit differently. Some of the things that let me do the drop downs in Excel versus Google Sheets acts a little differently between the two. So if you have an Excel, if you buy the Excel and just say, I'm going to import this into Google Sheets, you can't do that. It's not going to work right. You want to go back and get the Google Sheets version. And then also, if for some reason you buy the one wrong and you really need the Google Sheets one, or you need the Excel one and you got the wrong one, please private message me if you're on Etsy, or email me on the email address that's listed with it, and just make sure you can just say, hey, listen, I bought this. I can see the orders. When you message me on Etsy, I can see what your order was. If you say, hey, listen, I bought the Excel, I need the Google Sheet, I'll immediately email you the other version. It's not like I'm going to say, too bad, so sad, you bought the wrong one. I'll give you the right one, want to make it right for you. So that's, like I said, if you end up with the wrong one or need the other one, please just contact me. But don't try and take one and import it or transfer it to the other program. You can't take the Excel and make it a Google Sheet. You can't take the Google Sheet and make it an Excel. Some of the functions work just slightly differently, but they're off enough that you can't transfer them and it work right, especially with some of the drop downs. So that's just a kind of a long-winded say of make sure you get the right one. And if you accidentally get the wrong one, no worries, just let me know. The one last thing, let me go back to this. As I noted before, I do have a couple different versions of this for different amounts. And so the really basic one is simply just this income statement and this register. So if you don't need this customer payer tracker, you don't need the business bank rec, you don't have to pay for those. You can buy this version. That's the cheapest one. Then there's one that has, just the summary, the income statement, and the register, and just those three, and it doesn't have the customer and the payer tracker. It doesn't have the bank rec. And then likewise, I have ones that, have the income statement and the payer tracker, some that have the income statement and just the bank rec, and have all kind of the different mixes of one with a summary, kind of, I have them all in different stages. So if you're like, I don't need the customer payer tracker, but I like the bank rec and I like the income statement and I like the summary, you can buy that. Or if you're like, I don't need the bank rec, but I like this part and I like the income statement and I like the summary, that's fine. Or if you're like, I just need the income statement and the bank rec, you can buy that one as well. I have each one of them listed separately. They're priced differently so that you're not paying for things that you don't really want. I want to make sure that you get the specific configuration that you want. I will say some of them, especially if you don't have the bank rec, some of the columns go away here because you obviously don't need them if you're not using the bank rec. It just makes it kind of simpler. So that's the last thing. I will try my best to make sure that I put all the different links for all the different versions in the chat below. So that you can just, if you want to look at one or you want to buy one specifically and you don't want to pay for all the bells and whistles, but you just want the basic one, feel free. I actually have a rental income statement version that works very similar to this one, with a lot of the same features that I'll probably feature on here as a listing some point in the future. That's it for me. Thank you for walking through this with me. This version of Excel's, this template that I've built, is one of my more favorite ones. I use this as a version for like a rental one, a multi-business one. I use it in a couple different ways, and I just find it really, really useful. And if you're a person who has multiple sources of income, this is a really good tool to allow you to take all of that and see it all together, but still see all the individual pieces separately. I hope this helps. One One of the things hopefully to look forward to soon is I may actually sit down for like an hour taping of this, and I'm going to build one of these templates, one of the basic ones that I've done, just an automated income statement. I'm going to walk through how to build it, so keep a lookout for that here in a little bit. I'm literally going to start from a blank Excel and say, okay, this is the template we're going to build. I'm going to teach you how to make it. It's also the one that I'm going to do is for sale on Etsy for really cheap, like $5 or $6. But I'm gonna show you how to build it yourself if you're like, I don't want to spend the money or I want to learn something. And we're gonna learn how to do sum ifs, data validation, things like that. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, comments, issues, please reach out to me. You can leave comments on here. You can if you're on Etsy or if you see my Etsy link and you want to ask a question or message before you buy something, please go to Etsy and direct message me. I try to make it my business to respond as quickly as possible. Most questions get answered within an hour or so, unless it's literally in the middle of the night in wherever I'm at. So I do my best to try and answer everything and answer your questions. And if there's an issue or a problem, I always try and make it right. I don't want you getting a template from me that's useless. So I hope this was a helpful video. If you've purchased this already, thank you. If you're thinking, hey, I really like this, I really want this, thank you. Please consider shopping with us. If you like this and enjoy this and like looking at some of the things and say, hey, that's neat, please think about liking or subscribing to the page. And check out some of the other templates that we have on Etsy. We have a lot of different templates on Etsy. We only do a few templates on here. I'm trying to make that right. I'm trying to go back and do a lot more video tutorials. But it's, it takes a little bit of time to set these up. So thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a great evening, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.